This is a story of Kang Hyun, an ordinary gamer suddenly transported to a fantastical realm, where his love for food becomes the key to surviving wild adventures and bizarre challenges. The weather lady on TV said a big typhoon was coming. She told everyone it would probably rain a lot all over Korea. That wasn't good news for people who love camping like RMC, but he already packed up his stuff and went into the forest anyway. RMC took out some yummy meat that had kimchi flavor. He put the meat on a huge frying pan. It was way more food than one guy could eat by himself. Then, RMC opened an icy cold beer. He took a big sip and thought it tasted really good. RMC didn't care if it rained buckets. The place where he set up camp was special. All of a sudden, a bunch of RMC's friends showed up. He was super glad he cooked extra food. First, an army guy who fought in lots of wars came over. He asked RMC if he could pretty please have some of his delicious grown-up juice. Next, a beast man who was always calm walked up. His daughter was part animal, and she acted kind of wild. She started drooling when she saw all the tasty meat. An old guy who looked like a wizard showed up too. So did a really beautiful elf lady. She had a little bluebird sitting on her arm. All the friends gathered around RMC's campsite. It was in an open spot between gigantic mountains and thick green forests. If you haven't figured it out yet, the main guy RMC isn't camping on Earth. But wait, this is just a little peek at what happens later. The real story starts a few months before this part. Let's rewind and see how it all began. In a teeny tiny town in Korea, a car parked in front of an old building. One guy asked his friend if this place used to be his grandpa's store. The first guy said it had a cool vibe. Was his friend really going to open a restaurant here? Oh, I almost forgot. The second guy was wearing a mask. He looked kind of like a superhero. Mask guy got out of the car and told his pal to look around carefully. He wanted to make sure no pesky reporters followed him. His friend said nobody would come this far out in the boonies to find him. Mask guy agreed and finally took off his disguise. Now you might think Mask guy was super scared of getting sick. Maybe he lived in that place in India where people have to wear masks so they don't get the black lung. But that's not it at all. The guy in the mask was actually famous. Like really, really famous. His name was Lee Kang-hyun, and he was the most popular chef in the whole country. Kang-hyun learned how to cook at one of the best schools ever. It was called the CIA, but not the spy CIA. This CIA was the Culinary Institute of America. After he finished school, Kang-hyun entered a big fancy cooking contest in Paris. And guess what? He won. That's when he got crazy famous. Kang-hyun wasn't just really good at cooking. He was also super handsome. A bunch of TV shows saw his picture and said, "We have to get this guy on our show." They called Kang-hyun all the time and begged him to be on TV. It sounds great, right? Well, not so much. All that attention was too much for Kang-hyun. It made him really tired and stressed out. That was only the first problem. The second one was even worse. Some of Kang-hyun's fans were way too excited to meet him. They didn't care about his privacy at all. Those rude fans would run into the kitchen to take selfies with Kang-hyun while he was trying to work. When that happened, Kang-hyun turned into a real-life Gordon Ramsay. He yelled at the fans and told them to get out of his kitchen ASAP. But then, Kang-hyun got in trouble. His bosses and the other chefs said he was making problems for everyone. They told Kang-hyun if he wanted to play around with fans all day, he should quit cooking. They said he should just become a member of a boy band instead. But that still wasn't the end of Kang-hyun's troubles. Next, a whole army of mean trolls started attacking him online. They said Kang-hyun only got popular because of his looks. The trolls told everyone his cooking wasn't even that good. Some of the bullies even said Kang-hyun was a terrible person. They thought he was mean for screaming at his fans. The trolls posted that Kang-hyun's food was just meh at best. He read all those nasty comments and got really, really sad. Now Kang-hyun was 100% done with being famous. He hated all the attention. That's how come Kang-hyun came to the store his grandpa used to own. It was in a quiet little village far away from the big city. Kang-hyun's friend said he was making a big mistake. He told Kang-hyun if he opened a restaurant way out here in the middle of nowhere, he wouldn't make any money. But Kang-hyun didn't care. He said that was perfect. He told his friend he moved to the tiny town so he could relax and hide from everyone. His pal laughed and said, "If you want to relax, you don't start a whole new business." Kang-hyun looked at his friend and said something funny. He told him that cooking actually helps him relax and feel calm. The two guys carried all of Kang Hyun's bags and boxes into the old building. When they finished, Kang Hyun's friend rubbed his growling tummy. He said they should go get some food at a restaurant nearby. They took one bite of their lunch and Kang Hyun's inner Gordon Ramsay came out again. He grabbed a big glob of gross, soggy noodles covered in goopy brown sauce. Kang Hyun was so mad he wanted to throw the plate at the chef's head, but his friend made him calm down. He said the food is always bad in tiny towns like this. There weren't any other restaurants around, so the chef could cook yucky stuff and nobody cared. Kang Hyun's pal ate some more of the weird noodles. He said the sauce didn't taste terrible, at least to him. Those words hit Kang Hyun right in the sore spot. See, he had a big secret. Kang Hyun couldn't taste any food at all. When he first figured it out, he was super-duper sad. Kang Hyun ran to the doctor right away. He hoped maybe it was just a cold and his nose was stuffed up. But the doctor checked everything and said sorry. It wasn't that simple. The doctor told Kang Hyun the problem was all in his head. He said it happened because Kang Hyun was so stressed out all the time. Regular medicine and surgery couldn't fix it. The doctor said first, Kang Hyun had to learn how to relax. He told Kang Hyun to do fun things that would help him feel peaceful. The doc asked if he had any hobbies he liked. In the restaurant, Kang Hyun's friend asked if he was absolutely sure about moving here. He said, even if a few people came to eat at his place, there was nothing fun to do in this poky little town. Kang Hyun smiled and told his buddy that was the best part. This village had big green mountains and wide open fields. It was the perfect place for Kang Hyun to go camping and forget all his troubles. A couple days later, Kang Hyun got his camping stuff together. He packed up his gear and called a taxi to take him into the mountains. The cab driver looked at Kang Hyun's clothes and laughed. He asked if Kang Hyun was going to the beach instead of the woods. Kang Hyun ignored him. Suddenly, he remembered something important. Kang Hyun told the taxi driver to make a little stop in Yongpyong village first. Kang Hyun's grandpa used to live there a long time ago. Kang Hyun wanted to see the old house just for a minute. He hadn't been back there since his grandpa died. When they got to the house, Kang Hyun decided to tidy it up a bit before he went to the mountains. But then, he saw something weird. The door to the shed was open. Kang Hyun started to get really scared. What if there was a robber hiding in there? He tiptoed over and peeked inside the dark shed. Kang Hyun told himself not to be a baby. He had a fancy steel camping bag. He could fight off a bad guy with that. Between you and me, that was silly. Being brave comes from your heart, not from a bag. All of a sudden, something shot out of the shed and Kang Hyun almost jumped out of his skin. But it was only a regular kitty cat. See, I told you, Kang Hyun wasn't a real tough guy. He tried to look cool in front of the cat. Kang Hyun waved his camping bag at it to show he meant business. Then, Kang Hyun walked into the shed. He felt along the wall for the light switch. He kept going and going and going. Kang Hyun started thinking this was kind of strange. It felt like the shed was a lot bigger on the inside than it looked from the outside. All of a sudden, Kang Hyun saw a bunch of tiny sparks floating in the air around him. He blinked a bunch of times and rubbed his eyes. But the sparks were still there. Actually, now it looked like Kang Hyun was standing on a rock cliff. Hundreds of feet below him was a whole different world. Kang Hyun took a step closer to the edge to see better. Right then, the rocks under his feet crumbled into dust. He lost his balance and tumbled forward straight into the portal. Kang Hyun screamed so loud he hurt his own ears. It was so loud, it almost broke the comic book panel. When Kang Hyun finally opened his eyes, he was laying on the ground in a strange forest. He sat up and said, "What the heck? Where am I?" Then he felt something wet and sticky on his hand. It was a giant squirrel licking him. Kang Hyun freaked out and jumped to his feet, yelling. But the squirrel wasn't a normal squirrel. It had 3 sets of huge ears. Kang Hyun calmed down and took a closer look at the weird animal. Then, the craziest thing happened. The squirrel started flapping its giant ears. It flapped faster and faster until it lifted off the ground and flew away. Kang Hyun couldn't believe it. He said, "There's no way that was a squirrel. It must be some kind of Pokemon." Just then, Kang Hyun heard a rustling sound coming from the bushes behind him. He spun around fast to see what it was. Kang Hyun hoped it would be a normal bunny rabbit. Well, he was half right. A rabbit hopped out of the leaves. But this was no ordinary forest bunny. It was the Gigantor Chungus rabbit. This thing was so huge and muscly it must have been going to the gym 2 times a day. Not even the toughest lion would want to mess with this beast. The mega buff bunny bounced away into the forest. It looked like it was working out even while it was running. Kang Hyun started to get really scared. He knew he had to get out of these woods before something worse showed up. He might run into a monster that wanted to eat him. Kang Hyun ran through the forest for hours trying to find a way out, but soon the sun went down and it got dark. He still had no clue where he was. Kang Hyun checked his phone, but he didn't have any signal. He couldn't even call for help. Kang Hyun remembered his doctor telling him to go camping. It would help him relax and get rid of his stress. Kang Hyun said a really bad word. Then he yelled, "Stupid doctor, this is all your fault. Now I'm lost in the woods and I'm gonna die out here." Right then, Kang Hyun's tummy made a loud rumbling sound. He was so hungry it felt like his stomach was eating itself. He knew he better make a fire and cook some food before he starved. But when Kang Hyun checked his backpack, most of his food was gone. He must have lost his fancy steel bag when he fell into the portal. That bag had all his ingredients in it. The only things Kang Hyun had left were some dry fish, salt, pepper, and a few cubes of beef broth. Kang Hyun sighed and said, "Well, I guess this is better than nothing. At least I won't die of hunger." He poured the beef broth into a pot of water. When it started to boil, he threw the fish in. Then Kang Hyun sprinkled in some salt and pepper. He stirred the pot and took a tiny sip. The food was pretty nasty, but Kang Hyun could choke it down if he had to. He filled up a bowl with the gross fish soup. Then he remembered his big problem. Kang Hyun took a big bite and got really mad. Just like always, he couldn't taste anything at all, not even a little bit. He was so frustrated he picked up the pot and threw it into the bushes. Kang Hyun shouted, "I hate this! My life stinks!" Suddenly, he heard the leaves behind him rustling. Something was moving in there. Kang Hyun slowly turned his head. A set of glowing eyes was peeking out of the darkness. They looked right at him. Kang Hyun started shaking. He said, "Oh no, I bet it's a wolf. It must have smelled my food. Now it wants to eat me too." He reached down and grabbed his pocket knife. Kang Hyun knew a tiny knife wouldn't stop a hungry wolf, but it was the only weapon he had. He held the knife out in front of him. Kang Hyun tried to look brave, but his hand was shaking so bad he almost dropped the knife. Kang Hyun squeezed his eyes shut as tight as he could. He screamed, "Help me!" and waited for the wolf to attack him. But nothing happened. Kang Hyun slowly opened one eye. He didn't see the scary, glowing eyes anymore. Did the wolf go away? Then he heard a weird slurping sound coming from behind him. Kang Hyun whipped around and saw the cutest baby animal in the whole world. It was a tiny white wolf puppy. The little pup found Kang Hyun's soup pot in the bushes. He was licking the bowl so fast, his tongue looked blurry. In 2 seconds flat, the baby wolf licked the pot squeaky clean. Then he lifted his furry head and looked up at Kang Hyun. The wolf pup's tail started wagging back and forth like a propeller. Kang Hyun stared at the puppy, super confused. At first, he thought maybe it was a dog, but when the little guy scampered over to him, Kang Hyun saw its sharp teeth and pointy claws up close. He said, "Oh man, this isn't a puppy. It's a real wolf." Kang Hyun started to feel a little better. At least it wasn't a giant, vicious wolf that wanted to eat him for dinner. The fluffy wolf baby ran all around Kang Hyun's feet. It seemed like the pup wanted to play, but Kang Hyun shook his head and said, "Sorry, little dude. I've got to go. I don't really like dogs anyway." He reached down and picked the wolf cub up. Kang Hyun petted its soft white fur. He said, "I don't get why everyone thinks puppies are so cute." Now we both know that was a fib. Kang Hyun actually loved puppies. He just didn't want to admit it. Grown-ups are so silly sometimes. As Kang Hyun kept petting the pup, he noticed something strange about its fur. Instead of being fluffy and soft, the wolf baby's fur was kind of stiff and prickly. Kang Hyun guessed that happened because it was a wild animal. This little guy never had a bath with shampoo and conditioner. Kang Hyun looked closer at the rest of the wolf cub's body. It had gigantic paws with super sharp claws. The pup's teeth were really pointy, too. For a second, Kang Hyun wondered where the baby wolf's mommy was. Then he remembered the glowing eyes in the dark. Kang Hyun gulped and thought, "Oh no, what if that big scary wolf from before is this little guy's mom? She was probably going to come back any second now to get her baby." and when she showed up, she would see Kang Hyun holding her precious pup. It didn't take a genius to figure out what would happen next. Kang Hyun was so scared he almost peed his pants. But then his tummy made a really loud growling noise. He was starving. Kang Hyun sat down on the ground and rubbed his poor empty belly. He said, "You know what? I don't even care if the mama wolf comes and eats me. I'm gonna die of hunger before the sun comes up anyway. What's the difference?" Kang Hyun flopped onto his back and closed his eyes. All of a sudden, he felt something pulling on his shirt. Kang Hyun's eyes popped open. The wolf pup was trying to drag him somewhere. He grabbed onto Kang Hyun's sleeve with his teeth and started backing up, pulling the human behind him. Kang Hyun sat up and asked the wolf baby if he was trying to eat him for a snack. But the pup kept tugging until Kang Hyun finally stood up. The little wolf led Kang Hyun over to a big hollow tree. Something really weird was happening inside the tree trunk. It was glowing with a soft purple light. Kang Hyun squinted and looked closer. Wait a minute. This looked exactly like the portal he saw right before he fell into this bizarro world. He realized this must be the way back home. But then Kang Hyun hesitated. What if he jumped in and it wasn't a portal after all? This freaky tree hole was pointing straight down. If it didn't lead back to Earth, he might end up in achy double hockey sticks. Kang Hyun didn't want to risk it. He got down on his knees and stuck his head in the hole just to get a peek. The wolf pup saw his chance. He scampered up behind Kang Hyun, wiggling his fluffy butt. Then he charged forward and bonk! The baby wolf did a massive headbutt right on Kang Hyun's behind. The force knocked Kang Hyun off balance and he fell face first into the purple light. He screamed his head off and thought some very bad words about the little wolf. But before he could even finish his swear, Kang Hyun tumbled out of the portal. He crashed onto the floor of his grandpa's storage shed. Kang Hyun sat up slowly. He touched his chest and his face. Holy cow, he was still alive. Tears of joy started pouring down Kang Hyun's cheeks. He was so happy to be back home. He jumped to his feet and ran to the door, but then he stopped. Kang Hyun remembered the wolf pup. He never even got to say thank you for saving his butt. Kang Hyun bowed his head and made a promise. He swore he would always remember that baby wolf. Kang Hyun owed the little guy a huge debt, and he would never, ever forget it. Then a light bulb went off in his head. Wait a second. How did that wolf cub know how to find the portal tree? Kang Hyun spun around, and there he was. The furry little genius was sitting on the floor behind him, wagging his tail 1,000,000 miles an hour. Kang Hyun slapped his hand against his forehead. He said, "Of course you followed me, you little rascal. I guess I'm stuck with you now." He let out a big sigh and scooped up the wolf pup. Kang Hyun knew he had to keep the little guy. The first thing he did was give the pup a bubble bath. That was a huge mistake. As soon as the wolf baby jumped in the tub, he turned into a living tornado. Water and soap flew everywhere. By the time he was done, Kang Hyun's bathroom looked like a hurricane hit it. But at least the wolf cub was squeaky clean. Kang Hyun dried him off with a fluffy towel. Then he tried to think of a good name for his new friend. He made a list of cute names like white rice, white sugar, and vanilla ice cream. In the end, he decided to name the pup White Rice. That night, Kang Hyun and White Rice cuddled up together in bed. Before he knew it, he was sleeping like a baby. He hadn't slept that good in forever. The next morning, Kang Hyun woke up feeling great. He sat up in bed and stretched his arms over his head. Kang Hyun let out a big yawn and looked down at White Rice. He said, "Stay right here, little buddy. I'm gonna go to the store and get you some yummy dog food." Kang Hyun put on his shoes and zoomed out the door. He came back a few minutes later with a big bag of puppy chow. Kang Hyun ripped open the bag and poured the food into a shiny new bowl. He put it on the floor in front of White Rice and said, "Come and get it. Breakfast is served." But White Rice took one sniff of the kibble and turned up his nose. He wouldn't eat it. Kang Hyun rolled his eyes. He thought the wolf puppy was just being picky, so he went back to the store and got a few cans of cat food and rabbit chow. When he got home, Kang Hyun popped the lids and spooned the smelly mush into White Rice's bowl. But the pup still refused to eat it. Now Kang Hyun was starting to get annoyed. His inner Gordon Ramsay was coming out again. He threw his hands in the air and shouted, "Fine! I give up! If you want to starve, that's your problem. I'm making breakfast. What was the point of making a bunch of different dishes when he couldn't taste any of them? But Kang Hyun still had a teensy bit of hope. Maybe, just maybe, his taste buds would start working again. But before he could even pick up his fork, a furry white bullet zoomed past him. White rice jumped onto the table and attacked Kang Hyun's breakfast like a wild animal. He gobbled up every crumb so fast, the plate looked like it came out of the dishwasher. Kang Hyun was too shocked to be mad. He just stood there staring at his empty plate. Then he noticed something really weird. White rice only ate the food he cooked from scratch. The pup didn't touch any of the snacks or ingredients Kang Hyun bought from the store. He didn't even look twice at the frozen steak Kang Hyun got from the 7-Eleven down the street. A light bulb suddenly went off in Kang Hyun's head. Maybe his new pet wasn't just a wolf. Maybe white rice was actually a tiny, fuzzy food critic. Kang Hyun ran to the kitchen and pulled some steaks out of the fridge. He wanted to see if his theory was right. He got 2 pans and set them on the stovetop. Kang Hyun unwrapped the steaks and plopped one in each pan. He sprinkled the meat with salt, pepper, and his special blend of secret spices. When the steaks were done, Kang Hyun put each one on a fancy china plate. They looked exactly the same. Kang Hyun cooked the meat just right, deliciously pink and juicy in the middle. The only difference was the sauce. One plate had regular old A1 steak sauce that Kang Hyun grabbed at the store. But the other steak had Kang Hyun's top-secret homemade sauce drizzled on top. Food experts went wild for that sauce when Kang Hyun won the big international cooking contest. Kang Hyun set both plates down on the floor. Then he called White Rice over and said, "Okay, little guy, if you really know gourmet food, you have to choose carefully here. Pick the steak with the best sauce. This is a test." First, White Rice sniffed the A1 sauce steak. Kang Hyun knew it probably smelled pretty yummy. Most people would gobble it right up. But if White Rice picked his homemade sauce instead, it would prove he had the taste buds of a true Epicurean. The wolf pup took a tiny test bite of the A1 sauce steak. It was good, but nothing special. Then White Rice moved over to the plate with Kang Hyun's sauce. As soon as the pup took a bite, his tail started wagging like crazy. It was flapping so fast it looked like a fluffy white fan. Kang Hyun laughed and clapped his hands. He knew it. His new pet had a very sophisticated palate. White Rice was a canine connoisseur. If his new friend had such a refined sense of taste, he couldn't feed him any old junk. Kang Hyun was going to have to cook all of White Rice's meals himself from now on.
Pretty soon after that, Kang Hyun started fixing up the outside of his grandpa's old shop. He wanted to hurry up and open his restaurant. Kang Hyun got a big bucket of paint and a roller brush. He dipped the roller in the paint and smeared it all over the front wall. When he stepped back to look at his work, Kang Hyun scratched his head. The wall looked super weird. All the colors were uneven and splotchy. Kang Hyun frowned and wondered what the heck he did wrong. Suddenly, a scratchy voice behind him said, "Hey kid, didn't anyone ever tell you not to use indoor paint for outside walls?" Kang Hyun whipped around and saw a funky-looking old man. The guy had on overalls splattered with paint. There were goggles pushed up on his forehead. The old man shook his head and said, "Dang whippersnappers these days don't know anything about paint." Kang Hyun's eyes almost popped out of his head. This geezer looked like a biker gang grandpa. He quickly took off his baseball cap and bowed to the old man. Kang Hyun said, "Oh, hello, sir. Sorry, I didn't see you there. This is really embarrassing. But who are you?" The old man pushed his goggles off his face and up into his wild gray hair. He said, "I'm the village chief, that's who. And you're the new fella who just moved into town, right? I was waiting for you to come pay me a visit and say howdy, but you never showed up. So I figured I better get my butt over here and see what your deal is." Then the chief leaned over and squinted at Kang Hyun's paint job. He made a face like he just ate an extra sour lemon. The old man pointed at the wall and said, "Boy, that looks like a raccoon painted it by smacking a brush around with his tail. It's downright shameful." Kang Hyun's cheeks turned bright red. He felt like a total dummy. He rubbed the back of his neck and said, "Yeah, I guess I really made a mess. Looks like I'm gonna have to call a professional to fix it." The village chief put up his hand and said, "Hold your horses there, kiddo." Right then, White Rice scampered over to see what was going on. He started running around the old man's feet, yipping and bouncing. The chief crouched down and tried to pet White Rice, but the wolf pup was too quick. He kept zooming back and forth, dodging the chief's hand. The old man laughed and shook his head. Then he looked up at Kang Hyan and said, "Forget about calling anyone. You'd just be wasting your money. This weekend I'm gonna send over a local fella to help you paint. He'll do it for free and it'll look perfect. I guarantee it." Kang Hyan didn't know what to say. At first he tried to argue. Why would some random guy want to do all that work for a total stranger? But the village chief wouldn't take no for an answer. He just winked at Kang Hyan and said, "Trust me. It's all taken care of. Just make sure you're here on Saturday." The old man reached out to try and pet White Rice one more time, but the pup was too smart for him. White Rice dodged the chief's hand again, then hid behind Kang Hyan's legs. The village chief slapped his knee and cracked up laughing. Then he gave Kang Hyan a wave goodbye and walked off down the street, still chuckling. When Saturday rolled around, the chief came back with another man. He was tall and skinny, with big square glasses. The village chief tilted his chin at Kang Hyan and said, "This here is young Minho. He's gonna get you all fixed up and repaint that sad-looking wall of yours." Minho gave Kang Hyan a shy smile and bowed his head to say hello. Right away he walked over to the wall and started looking at it from every angle. Minho rubbed his chin and mumbled to himself. Then he pulled out a notepad and started scribbling a bunch of numbers and diagrams. Kang Hyan watched Minho work and shook his head in amazement. He thought, "Wow, this guy is really taking it seriously. I still don't get why these people are working so hard for someone they don't even know." The village chief noticed Kang Hyan's confused expression. He nudged the young man with his elbow and said, "So tell me something, kid. What exactly are you planning to do with this old place anyway? Your granddaddy used to run the best udon shop in town. You gonna make noodles too?" Kang Hyan gave the old man a friendly smile and shook his head. He said, "Actually, I was thinking about opening an Italian restaurant here." The village chief scrunched up his eyebrows and said, "Italian? What the heck is that?" Kang Hyan tried really hard not to laugh. He could tell the chief had never heard of Italy before, so he dumbed it down and said, "Oh, sorry. I meant a Western-style restaurant. You know, like burgers and spaghetti and stuff like that." When Minho heard the words Western restaurant, his head popped up like a prairie dog. He spun around to face Kang Hyan so fast, his glasses almost flew off his nose. Minho said, "Hey, Mr. Kang Hyan, sir? This is gonna sound really weird, but can I ask you a question?" Kang Hyan wasn't sure why Minho looked so nervous all of a sudden. He walked over to the skinny guy and said, "Of course. Ask me anything." Kang Hyan simply tells Minho that he will open a Western restaurant. Minho gets nervous when he hears this and asks if Kang Hyan will serve pork cutlets. He explains that his wife absolutely loves pork cutlets, but their favorite restaurant that makes them is closed now. Plus, his wife is pregnant, so they can't travel too far to get them. Minho tried making pork cutlets himself, but they turned out so bad that they might have harmed the baby. He assures Kang Hyan that he was just curious and doesn't want to pressure him. Kang Hyan thinks pork cutlets would be easy to make, even if they're not on his menu. But there's a problem. How can he serve food to customers if he doesn't know how it tastes? He's about to say no when he notices the excited White Rice behind him. Suddenly, Kang Hyan figures out how he can taste food. He can use White Rice as his taste tester. He stands up and tells Minho that he will make pork cutlets for him. Kang Hyan begins the preparation of the cutlets in accordance with Minho's description of them. Minho stated that the sauce turned out to be more brown than red and had a sweet flavor due to the tomatoes. That the sauce contains tomato ketchup is something that Kang Hyan has come to realize. In a hurry, he gathers all of the components together and instructs White Rice to be ready to serve as his official taste tester. One of the first batches of pork cutlets is prepared by Kang Hyun, who then serves them with white rice. However, he observes that the tail of the white rice is not wagging as quickly as it should be, which indicates that the meal is not yet perfect. Due to the fact that this is something that Kang Hyun finds extremely bothersome, he creates a wide variety of pork cutlet variations. His specific flavor measurement device, which is plainly the tail of white rice, is something that he continues to concentrate on, to the point where he discovers the ideal recipe. White rice is content and loaded with food by that point. When Kang Hyun realizes that he can now taste food, he is filled with excitement since it means that he can finally enjoy cooking once more. During the following day, Minho and his wife make their appearance. The fact that she hasn't had pork cutlets in what seems like an eternity is mentioned by her as she expresses her excitement about going to a new restaurant. The very exceptional pork cutlets that Kang Hyun has prepared are brought out, and Minho's wife is immediately struck by how magnificent they are both in appearance and in aroma. She takes a taste, and Minho and Kang Hyun are waiting with bated breath to see what her reaction is. While she acknowledges that the pork cutlets at the rural restaurant were tasty, she asserts that these are even more delicious. She is overjoyed and comments that the sauce has a sense of similarity to it, but that the meat is significantly crispier and more juicy. Then she begins to reminisce with Minho about the first time they went out together. They also consumed pork cutlets on that particular day, and she recalls how Minho spent the entire time staring at her rather than engaging in the act of eating his food. When she says that, the large tough guy gets a blush on his face, and his wife remarks that after that day, she started really appreciating pork cutlets. Even before that point, she didn't really care all that much about them. Instead of the pork cutlet itself, she tells Minho that she treasures the wonderful memories she has with him more than the cutlet itself. To see that his client is so content is a source of great joy for Kang Hyun. When he turns around, he realizes that he may have given himself an excessive amount of white rice. A classic woof is the response that white rice gives in response to him praising the dog for the job that it has done. At a later point in time, Kang Hyun begins to reconsider his beliefs on the restaurant. Instead of opening an Italian restaurant, he makes the decision to create a menu that features Western cuisine that are based on the preferences of his clients. There are currently restaurants that provide menus that are adjustable like this one, but of course, all of them are quite luxurious and pricey. Kang Hyun is aware that in order to successfully run his business, he may need to exercise his creativity and make certain adjustments. But before that, he needs to take action regarding White Rice, who appears to be in a very depressed state. If he misses the woodland that he came from, Kang Hyun inquires about it. As soon as White Rice hears the term forest, his ears and tail immediately begin to stand up straight. Kang Hyun is aware that returning an animal to its native habitat is the most preferable course of action, despite the fact that doing so may cause him to feel a little lonely. On the other hand, as Kang Hyun contemplates the Pokemon squirrel and the enormous Giger rabbit, he begins to shake with anxiety and begins to consider the possibility that he may not want to return to that location after all. At that moment, White Rice stares at him with the most innocent puppy dog eyes, and he begins to reconsider his decision to not attend. It turns out that the power of lovely puppy eyes is simply too great, despite the fact that Kang Hyun assures him that he won't fall for something like that. The mystical woodland is where Kang Hyun finds himself in the end, whatever. He is both concerned about the potential outcomes and hopeful that everything will turn out well. As he makes his way through the forest, he is pondering whether this location exists in a different dimension, similar to what he sees in the comic novels that he reads. Instantaneously, he is able to pick up on the sound of water. He goes to look at it, and when he does, he can't believe what he sees. For Kang Hyun, there is a lake in front of him that is so stunningly gorgeous that he is unable to find the words to describe it. It is his assertion that if this were his home, he would have feelings of homesickness regardless of where he traveled. After that, he points to the white rice and informs him that he has a gift for him to take with him when he leaves. Kang Hyun pulls a portable grill out of his rucksack and announces that he is going to prepare some extremely pricey meat for the wolf pup. The white rice community is already very enthusiastic about that. This is followed by Kang Hyun letting the expensive steak sizzle over some butter that he has melted, and then sprinkling salt and pepper on top of it. White rice is completely enamored with the final steak, and his tail wags so quickly that Kang Hyun is afraid he would transform into nothing more than a helicopter. At that moment, Kang Hyun takes a glance at the lake and realizes that there is something that is lacking: a refreshing can of beer to accompany this breathtaking panorama. After consuming the beer, Kang Hyun is set to engage in the stereotypical response that everyone has after consuming alcohol. For once, however, he does not, because he is unable to taste it in any manner, shape, or form. On the other hand, it's not like people drink alcohol for the flavor in the first place. Kang Hyun is taking in the breathtaking surroundings when all of a sudden, he feels a blade on his shoulder. A stern voice asks him to identify himself because he does not appear to be from any of the communities that are located in the surroundings. When Kang Hyun is in a state of terror, the powerful veteran guard who is holding a sword to his head commands him in a commanding manner to identify himself. Kang Hyun is so scared that he can barely reply to the man's question. All he manages to say is that he's a chef. He insists that he's not suspicious at all, but the man asks what the heck a chef is doing out here. Kang Hyun replies that he was just admiring the view. The man asks if a forest where demon beasts appear is really a place to admire the scenery. He yells at Kang Hyun to tell him what he's actually up to, or else he'll kill him. All of a sudden, the man notices White Rice eating his food and giving him a side-eye glance. The man seems to realize something. Kang Hyun is super scared of the man and begs him to spare his life. He even offers the man all his money. Then he remembers that money from Earth won't do any good here, so he'll have to find a way to exchange it somehow. But the man quietly puts his sword away and apologizes to Kang Hyun for overreacting. He explains that this forest is a place where regular people aren't allowed to enter. He puts his sword back in its sheath and introduces himself as Randolph, a knight from the territory below. Kang Hyun introduces himself too and wonders why the man's attitude changed so suddenly. Randolph tells him that the white wolf with him only appears in folktales, and that's enough to prove Kang Hyun is not a bad guy. Kang Hyun is confused by this, so Randolph decides to explain it to him. He says that white wolves are descendants of the wolf god. The original wolf god is believed to have eyes that can tell good from evil and great wisdom. The white wolves that come from him have inherited some of his special abilities. Randolph tells Kang Hyun that since a white wolf like that is with him, he must be a good person. After hearing that White Rice is descended from a god, everything makes sense to Kang Hyun. His huge appetite, his speed and agility, it's all because he's part divine being. Randolph remarks that the food someone eats in a beautiful place like this must be really special. He looks over at the high-quality steak Kang Hyun cooked and asks about it. Kang Hyun says it's beef and asks the knight if he wants some. At first Randolph says he already ate, but then he's like, "Just kidding, I haven't eaten anything yet." Plus, the meat smells so good that he wouldn't be able to resist even if he was full. He eagerly asks for a bite, and Kang Hyun gives him a piece. Randolph is totally blown away by the incredible taste of the juicy, tender meat. Then he notices the beer can in Kang Hyun's hand and asks what it is. He's surprised to hear it's alcohol and wonders if it's from the area Kang Hyun lives in. He's curious about it, so Kang Hyun politely asks if he wants some. Randolph says he was just wondering, so he doesn't really need it. But then he grabs the beer can tightly and tells Kang Hyun he can't refuse since he's being so insistent. Kang Hyun decides to give him a new can instead of the one he was drinking from. As Randolph gulps it down, he's amazed because he's never tasted a beer that was so refreshing and crisp. Kang Hyun is happy to see the knight's attitude has gone from scary guard to interested tourist. Randolph thanks him for the food and drink and says he has to repay the favor somehow. He tells Kang Hyun that if he ever visits the town, he can ask anyone for Knight Captain Randolph's address and they'll show him the way. Well, Kang Hyun doesn't really know how important a knight captain is in the army rankings, so he's a bit confused. But Randolph assumes that since Kang Hyun isn't reacting, even though he knows his position, he must be a really extraordinary person. Then the knight captain assures Kang Hyun that as long as the white wolf is by his side, he'll be fine no matter what kind of creature he meets. He goes back to patrolling and tells Kang Hyun they'll see each other again. Kang Hyun is startled to hear that because Randolph just drank alcohol while on duty. He wonders if that's okay in this world. I mean, what a weird and silly thing to worry about when you've got a cute demigod wolf next to you begging for food. Kang Hyun gives White Rice all the leftover food and thinks about how exciting his life has been because of the pup. He feels a little sad to leave him here, but he believes it's for the best. He gets up with a sigh and tells White Rice he doesn't know if they'll meet again. He asks the wolf to take care of himself. As he walks away, Kang Hyun looks back at White Rice, kind of disappointed that the pup isn't showing him any affection. Kang Hyun was hoping the puppy would be at least a little bit attached to him. But when he looks again, he only sees his empty food tray. Kang Hyun wonders where White Rice went. Then he feels his backpack is heavy because the pup is hanging onto it. Kang Hyun tells him to let go, but White Rice uses his claws to grip the bag tightly, totally ruining it. After a while, Kang Hyun gives up and asks the pup why he's doing this. White Rice just licks his hand in response. Kang Hyun asks the wolf puppy why he wants to come back with him when he has returned to his hometown. White Rice barks at him. Kang Hyun asks if the pup likes being with him more. He's happy about that and picks up the puppy, realizing he has no choice but to bring him back home. However, as he returns to the village, Kang Hyun understands that he'll have to go to the other world pretty often, or else White Rice will throw a tantrum. In the village, he notices everyone is gathered for a party and wonders what's going on. He doesn't really care, but they're all crowded right in front of his shop. Suddenly, the village chief comments that Kang Hyun finally made it. Kang Hyun asks him what everyone is doing here. The chief replies that they're having a feast and asks if Kang Hyun didn't hear about it. Kang Hyun says he didn't and decides to go, because he doesn't feel like joining the party anyway. But the village chief stops him and says he should stay, because this party was thrown to welcome him in the first place. The villagers unroll a huge banner welcoming Kang Hyun to their town. He was definitely not expecting to see that. Everyone is having a great time at Kang Hyun's welcome party, except Kang Hyun. He just wants to go home while the elderly villagers annoy him with questions. Minho and his wife seem to be the only normal people there. Kang Hyun asks them if the village always celebrates like this when someone new arrives. Minho's wife tells him that since they're a small village, they try to be close with each other. But Kang Hyun can easily see that the old folks just want an excuse to drink all day long. The village chief comes over and tells Kang Hyun that they really care about each other, and that's why they like to share their happiness. The old man suggests Kang Hyun promote his restaurant here. Kang Hyun almost believes him, until he sees that the chief is wearing bottle caps as accessories. The old man runs off to drink with his buddies, but Kang Hyun thinks advertising his restaurant is actually a pretty good idea. Everyone is busy having fun, and Kang Hyun starts to think maybe this kind of get-together isn't so bad after all. Then he realizes White Rice is missing and sees that some villagers have surrounded the pup. They're gushing over how adorable he is and how fast he's gobbling up all the meat. But when they try to pet him, White Rice dodges their hands like a ninja. After outmaneuvering everyone with his quickness, White Rice zips through the party, snatching all the pricey meat with such incredible speed that most people don't even realize what happened. Kang Hyun acts like he doesn't know White Rice. His fond memories vanish as he thinks he should have just left the wolf pup back in the forest. All of a sudden, he spots a boy sitting alone in the corner. The boy's grandma brings him some food, but he angrily knocks it away. Kang Hyun doesn't like seeing this. The boy yells, "Who cares?" and runs off as his grandma tries to talk to him. The village chief goes up to the old woman and asks what happened. She says that Sang Hyun has been acting out ever since he got back from school yesterday. Sang Hyun's friend bragged about eating a hamburger, and now the boy wants one too. His grandma brought him a burger from the convenience store, but it seems like he doesn't want that one. Someone offers to buy a burger from a restaurant the next day, but another person argues that the boy must want a Big Mac, which they don't have here. However, the village chief says it's no big deal if they don't sell Big Macs here, because they can make their own burgers. He points at Kang Hyun and says they have a chef from Seoul who knows everything about cooking. Kang Hyun is annoyed by all the attention, but he gives in and agrees to the village chief's request. But then the village chief tells him the burger doesn't have to taste exactly like a Big Mac, because Sang Hyun probably doesn't really want a hamburger anyway. The chief thinks the boy must be jealous of his friend who went out with his parents. He explains that Sang Hyun's mom is in the hospital and his dad is working in another country, so the boy lives with his grandma here. The chief says that since Sang Hyun is the only kid in their village, they all need to look out for him. Kang Hyun has a little more respect for the village chief now, seeing how he knows what's going on with everyone. But that respect drops fast when he notices some empty bottles tied around the chief's waist. That night, Kang Hyun thinks he can easily make hamburgers since he studied in America. But he never actually tried a Big Mac because all he did was study while he was there. However, he feels like he should at least do this much for the villagers, because his pet wolf is going to eat all their meat. White Rice gets nervous when he hears that and tries to act all cute to get on Kang Hyun's good side. But Kang Hyun tells him to be quiet because there won't be any more food for him. White Rice is sad about that, but then Kang Hyun says he'll have to taste something for him. Kang Hyun makes a hamburger for White Rice just by looking at a picture of one, but the pup's tail isn't wagging fast enough. Suddenly, Kang Hyun remembers how he went to America because he loved cooking so much. He never put as much effort and passion into anything else as he did with cooking. He wonders what his past self would think if he saw him now. He's not happy that he's trying to make a cheap copy of a burger just to please a kid. And he doesn't like that the village chief said it doesn't need to taste the same as the real thing. Kang Hyun ties on his apron and puts on his chef's hat. He says he's never cooked half-heartedly before, and he's not about to start now. The next day, Kang Hyun is busy working his magic in the kitchen. Sang Hyun is waiting in the restaurant with his grandma, Minho, and Minho's wife. They try to get the boy excited by telling him Kang Hyun can cook anything, but he's not really in a good mood. All of a sudden, Kang Hyun comes out with a hamburger that looks absolutely amazing. Sang Hyun takes a bite and feels the taste of freedom in his mouth. He excitedly turns to his grandma and tells her how delicious the burger is. The old lady smiles, happy to see her grandson in a good mood at last. But then Sang Hyun suddenly gets upset as he feels guilty. He admits that he only wanted to see his mom. He explains that he demanded a fancy burger because he thought his grandma would take him to Seoul to get one, and then he could visit his mom while they were there. Sang Hyun starts crying and apologizes to his grandma for acting rude. She gently holds his face in her hands. She hugs him and apologizes for not realizing how much he was hurting all by himself. Sang Hyun cries and says he's okay living with her, and they both say sorry to each other. Out of nowhere, Kang Hyun says he's going to Seoul soon and asks the boy if he wants to come along. Sang Hyun is shocked to hear that. Kang Hyun tells him they can stop by the place he wants to visit and have a burger together while they're there. The boy's face lights up when he hears that. His grandma thanks Kang Hyun, and only then does he realize he got a little carried away. But seeing how happy Sang Hyun and his grandma are, he thinks it won't be too much trouble after all. Later, Kang Hyun looks in his fridge and wonders if he should pack some leftovers and go camping with them. White Rice's ears perk up when he hears the word camping. The pup comes up to Kang Hyun, who is thinking that he won't have any free time to go camping once the restaurant opens. White Rice gives him those innocent puppy dog eyes again, and no matter how hard Kang Hyun tries to resist, he ends up taking his furry friend to the magical forest. He sits glumly on a chair while White Rice barks and runs around playfully. Well, there's no point in being grumpy about it, so Kang Hyun decides to set up camp right there since the view is so nice. He starts putting up a tent, but it's harder than assembling IKEA furniture without instructions. Meanwhile, White Rice is busy chasing butterflies. After a while, Kang Hyun finally gets the tent set up. Then he realizes he's hungry. He starts making some spicy kimchi stew, but he still can't taste anything he eats. Two adorable squirrels come up to him eagerly. Kang Hyun decides to give them some lightly cooked meat. He tosses a few pieces in their direction, but a giant bird swoops down out of nowhere and snatches them up, then flies away. Oh well, Kang Hyun has plenty of food to make sure the squirrels get enough to eat. He's quite content just sitting in nature and doing nothing for a while. He thinks this must be what people mean when they talk about the healing power of nature. Then he wonders where White Rice wandered off to and figures the pup will definitely come back when it's dinner time. But little does he know, there's something hiding in the bushes, drooling over the food he's eating. Kang Hyun hears the leaves rustling and assumes White Rice has returned. However, something else darts out towards the bowl of food in his hand. Kang Hyun has lightning-fast reflexes like an F1 race car driver. He instantly moves the bowl away from whatever is attacking. Now he's on guard, and he sees that the attacker is a young, wild beast girl. Kang Hyun is perplexed after noticing that her ears and tail resemble those of a cat. He is curious as to whether or not she is one of those beast beings that are depicted in fantasy isekai anime. Because this cat girl is so fierce, it shouldn't be his first concern, because she is so vicious. As she rushes at Kang Hyun, she lets out a low growl, but his swift maneuvers in the past were not merely a matter of luck. Once more, he deftly avoids her assault with ease. Nevertheless, it does not appear like the girl is going to give up on the situation. While Kang Hyun is in desperate need of White Rice, he is curious about his whereabouts. During his efforts to defuse the situation with a cat girl, he comes to the realization that she may simply be hungry. She suddenly becomes silent as he shows her the bowl of food that he has prepared. Kang Hyun places the bowl on the ground and relays to the cat girl that he will provide her with the food and that she should then depart without any disturbance. Due to the fact that she does not trust him, the girl approaches the food with extreme caution. Its aroma and appearance, on the other hand, are irresistible, and she begins to slobber over it. She takes a bite directly from the bowl with her tongue, and all of a sudden, an explosion of chili scorches her taste senses. She collapses to the ground and begins to scream out in agony on the ground. Kang Hyun has now come to the conclusion that the kimchi stew may be far too spicy for her. Although he makes the decision to offer her some water, the cat girl is able to become quiet on her own. As the scalding heat from the chili begins to lose its intensity, the delectable aromas of the meat and vegetables begin to emerge. After getting up, she resumes her consumption of the stew again. Kang Hyun believes that there must be something that she enjoys after all. Exactly at the moment that he is about to eat, White Rice arrives. Kang Hyun expresses his dissatisfaction with the fact that he could have returned much sooner. In the midst of his efforts to prepare additional stew for the puppy, White Rice becomes aware that the cat girl is consuming his meal. White Rice is not going to put up with it, and he instantly comes in and tackles the girl. The wolf pup is completely oblivious to Kang Hyun's warnings to halt and refrain from making the girl upset, but Kang Hyun warns him to stop. While he continues to wrestle with the cat girl, Kang Hyun makes an effort to break up the two of them. When white rice squishes the cat girl's nose, she begins to cry even though it appears like white rice is the one who is winning the fight. Meanwhile, Kang Hyun makes an effort to pull white rice away from her as she makes an attempt to pounce on him. The scenario is suddenly transformed into a calm and collected cat guy, which brings about an instantaneous change in the atmosphere. He seizes the cat girl when she is in the air. Before tearing away from the encampment at a breakneck speed, the cat man expresses his regrets to the human. Kang Hyun is unable to do anything but watch him leave, with the paw print of white rice on his face. It is a mystery to him how many people of different ethnicities inhabit this woodland. After that, he returns to the hamlet and begins cleaning his restaurant with white rice's assistance. He starts cleaning it after that. For the first time, the restaurant will be open to the public tomorrow. Kang Hyun is of the opinion that he need to stop wasting time and start going about his business in a serious manner. While everything is going on, an elderly lady who is passing by the shop observes the banner that welcomes Kang Hyun here. Once he is inside, he makes sure that he is prepared and notices that everything will be taken care of as soon as he is finished cleaning. He is daydreaming about the ideal opening day for his shop when all of a sudden, the elderly woman walks into his establishment. When she inquires about their availability, Kang Hyun responds that they will be open the next day. However, he does not wish to disappoint any of the locals, so he sighs and instructs her to take a seat within the hamlet. The woman makes a remark about how ancient the furniture is and inquires as to why he continued to use the old items rather than tossing them away. She makes the observation that the location is still the same as it was in the past. It was during the time that Kang Hyun's grandfather owned and operated the tea house that she came to visit him. He does not receive a direct response from the woman. Instead, she inquires about the products that he will be selling in this location. He assures her that he would be preparing Western cuisine, such as pizza and pasta. Spaghetti is the only type of spaghetti that the elderly woman is familiar with. I can tell that her reply is going to be very upsetting to a lot of Italians, and I am not fooling around. Kang Hyun is instructed to bring her some spaghetti, and she tells him that he is free to decide the specifics on his own. In light of the fact that this is the elderly lady's very first time trying pasta, he decides to head to the kitchen and prepare a simple tomato sauce pasta dish for her on the spot. The fact that he treats her as if she were his very first customer is the reason he prepares everything to perfection. He then places the tomato pasta in front of the woman after bringing it out of the cupboard. Kang Hyun is anxious about what she would think because, despite the fact that he was unable to taste the pasta himself, he has received a lot of praises on it in the past. While she is asking Kang Hyun how much it costs, the elderly lady takes a bite of the food and her face takes on a grim expression. The way she responded has completely perplexed him. Exactly at that moment, the leader of the village walks into the shop to inquire about Kang Hyun's well-being. It comes as a surprise to him to see the elderly lady, whom he refers to as Grandma Park. When he inquires as to the reason for her presence, she responds that she came to eat because it is a restaurant. There is a reminder from the chief of the community that the opening is tomorrow. However, the elderly lady has stated that she would be leaving now that she has finished eating. A complaint is made by the elderly man that the woman is too chilly. He then takes notice of the plate of tomato spaghetti, which demonstrates that she did, in fact, consume food at that location. Nevertheless, he is perplexed as to why she left such a large quantity of food behind. Exactly the same thing is going through Kang Hyun's mind, and he is experiencing a sense of his entire existence disintegrating as he ponders the reasons why the elderly lady did not enjoy his cuisine. When an elderly lady entered the shop, Kang Hyuk asked her to sit down, and she requested some pasta. Realizing it was her first time eating pasta, he cooked tomato pasta for her. However, she didn't like it and left it untouched after taking a single bite. The village chief entered the store just as she left and found the young chef shocked because the old lady had left his food. Kang Hyuk entered a slump due to the fact that the old lady had left almost the entire plate untouched. the village chief tried to comfort him, starting by asking what was wrong and if the preparations for the restaurant weren't going well. Kang Haek coldly replied that even if the preparations weren't going well, there was no problem because he was going to shut down his restaurant as of that day. Dude, it hadn't even opened yet, which was exactly what the village chief was thinking. He soon understood that the reason Kang Haek was so gloomy was because old Grandma Park had left behind so much food. He laughed it off, telling Kang Haek that it wasn't like he had one master chef or any other cooking competition where he could satisfy everyone. This made him even more mad because he had actually won an international cooking competition. The village chief told him to just shrug it off because Grandma Park probably didn't even come there for food. He told the boy that someone closely associated with the old lady used to come there often, so she might be there just for the nostalgia. Kang Haek was curious who that person was, and the village chief said he was talking about the old lady's husband. He was a regular customer of that place when it was a tea shop, but he passed away last year. After that, Grandma Park had spent almost all her time alone, and even the villagers rarely got to see her. The village chief believed that the old lady still thought about her husband a lot, but the dead wouldn't return to life no matter how much you mourned them. He said that the living should move ahead with their lives because clinging to the past was foolish. He then got back on track and told Kang Haek that it wasn't his fault because Grandma Park was already picky enough when it came to food. Given her special situation, she might have reacted worse than usual, so Kang Haek didn't need to pay it any mind. Kang Haek replied, how could he not pay it any mind after hearing her story? The thoughts gave him a headache, so he headed out to camp in the other world. In front of him, the Giga Chat Rabbit was doing push-ups, and White Rice was sitting on top of him. Kang Haek thought that because of them, no monster would dare come near him, and that would give him ample time to sort out his thoughts. He stretched, thinking how stunned he was when the old lady left without eating his food, but he felt sorry for her after hearing her full story. However, he was still shocked that she left the dish he was most confident in and wondered if he should prepare some Korean food for her next time. Suddenly, Kang Haek noticed something above his head, and it was the same feral cat girl from before. She got nervous as she saw that he had noticed her, but Kang Haek was in no mood to deal with her right now. The girl began screaming for God knows what reason, and Kang Haek just stared at her with boredom. He thought that the girl was hungry, just like the last time, and began searching his bag for something. As White Rice got close to Kang Haek, the cat girl descended from the tree too. Kang Haek cooked up some juicy steak, and then he was ready to put some hot sauce on it, but then he recalled the last time. The cat girl was not really able to handle the spice well, and she flinched as she saw the hot sauce bottle. Kang Haek decided to skip it. He melted butter in another pan and then roasted some mushrooms on it with a bit of pepper and salt. He added some cream for thickness and then added some cheese too, before putting cooked pasta in the mix. As the finishing touch, he put the steak on top of the pasta, and his creamed steak pasta was done. He gave a plate to the cat girl, who growled at him. Kang Haek told her that she could growl at him later, and right now, she needed to eat it quickly before it was stolen from her. She was a bit anxious about the taste of chili from the last time, but decided to take a bite nonetheless. With just the first bite, she felt herself in a different dimension, with angelic cats preparing the meat and the cream for her. She meowed in pleasure at eating the pasta and rapidly gobbled everything up. She looked at Kang Haek with eager eyes, as if to tell him that she liked what he cooked without chili. He could tell that she wanted more of it, even though the girl seemed unable to use words. He was pleased that she was satisfied more than she was when she ate the spicy stew. However, Kang Haek wasn't a big fan of the creamed steak pasta because it was really greasy and heavy, which didn't work for him. On top of that, it was more of a shabby fusion than an authentic pasta. It worked for me, so he could give that to me if he wasn't going to eat it. The cat girl also thought the same and began rubbing against Kang Haek's leg to act cute so that he would give her more food. He ruffled her hair and thought that it didn't matter if the pasta was authentic or not, as long as it suited her. Suddenly, he had an eureka moment and immediately returned home. He washed some spring onions in the sink and called White Rice to help him find the best batch. Well, White Rice wanted to say that he was a dog and not a donkey who would eat grass and turn away from the plates. Kang Haek was disappointed, but he thought that it wouldn't be very difficult, even if he had to do it without White Rice's help, because the taste of all the ingredients was ingrained in his mind. He began cooking, and outside his store, there was a notice saying that the restaurant would open up next week because of his personal reasons. Well, the village chief was outside the store, and he got what was going through Kang Haek's mind when he read the notice. He visited Grandma Park's house and cheerfully told her that she should go out more often because there were many fun things outside her house. She rudely asked him what brought him there all of a sudden, and he said that he just wanted to check up on a neighbor. The village chief laughed, saying that the young chef was quite shocked after Grandma Park left his noodles untouched. She simply said that the dish didn't suit her taste, and there was nothing so shocking in that. The village chief agreed with her and then said that since she didn't have much to do, she should pay him a second visit. Grandma Park asked him why she should bother to do that, because the one chance she gave him was enough. He tried to convince her that things might be different this time, and then tried coddling the old woman by saying that it was not far away from her home. He asked her to give Kang Haek another chance because it could be worth the effort, and then walked away. Back at the restaurant, Kang Haek had finished his new pasta recipe, and he seemed satisfied. He had added some fresh vegetables and seafood to create a harmonious and local taste. But the main problem now was how he could invite Grandma Park there again. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, and Kang Haek went outside to see who it was this time. To his surprise, it was Grandma Park again, and she once again asked him if he was open. The Lady Loki seemed like a robot. Well, Kang Haek was glad to have her over and said that they were open. Grandma Park sat down to eat and wondered if Kang Haek knew that she would come again because he had already prepared the food for her. She thought that it was going to be the American noodles again, and the Italians were once again not happy about her remark. Grandma Park didn't like the taste of Western noodles, and she thought that it would have been better if she had not come there. Then suddenly, she sensed an enticing smell and wondered where it was coming from. Kang Haek placed the plate of pasta he had made for her, and thanked her for waiting. He told the old lady that this was an item from his restaurant's special menu, the daily pasta. The old woman was confused as she looked at the pasta and wondered if they had dailies in the States. She also noticed the clams on the plate and decided to give it a try. She picked up some noodles and wondered if they would taste better than before. Well, when the taste of spring onions hit her, it suddenly took her down the nostalgia rabbit hole. She remembered the last and most memorable spring she spent with her husband, watching the cherry blossom trees. He said that the flowers had bloomed more that year than the previous years, and then picked up a few and began flirting with Grandma Park, calling her a young miss and asking if she was free that day. He invited her to a cup of coffee playfully, and she asked him if he had gone senile or something. The taste of the noodles made her relive those memories vibrantly, and she looked outside the window and saw cherry blossoms falling down. She thought that it was finally spring again. She then asked Kang Haek if this dish was not on the menu before, and he replied that it was not. She asked him if he made it for her, and then demanded to know why he went out of his way to do this. Kang Haek simply replied that he wanted to make food she would like, and then added that he wanted to try something new and improve. Grandma Park was moved by his words. Kang Haek thought that he couldn't rely on White Rice forever, and that was why he wanted to satisfy his first guest without his help. Grandma Park began eating the pasta silently, and Kang Haek could only stare at her in awe as she finished everything. She then asked him how much she owed him, and he nervously told her that it was fine, and she didn't have to give him anything. She sighed, asking what kind of restaurant owner didn't accept payment from his customers. She insisted that since she ate so well, she must pay for it. She asked Kang Haek to not lower the value of the food he made for any reason. and then told him to add this dish to the menu as well because she would come by again. Kang Haek was left speechless by her gesture, and he was happy that he succeeded in winning her over. Later, he went back to the other world to enjoy some free time. He had set up a hammock for himself there, as well as a comfy bed for White Rice. Kang Haek was happy that he managed to satisfy his first customer, and successfully opened his restaurant. Now, he was going to take some time to heal from his stress. He made up an excuse that White Rice kicked up a fuss if he didn't come there regularly anyway, so it was the perfect place for him to come and relax over the weekend. He was a bit too excited for someone who just wanted to relax. Then suddenly, something huge and gray flew overhead. Kang Haek didn't even understand what just happened, and then suddenly, the night Captain Randolph arrived there. He found Kang Haek on the ground, his campsite ruined and destroyed. The night captain was shocked to see him there and then cheerfully greeted him, saying that it had been a long time. Kang Haek was furious and wondered if Randolph's eyes were just for decoration because he didn't seem to notice the situation he was in. Kang Haek got up, and Randolph was praising his choice for picking up a good spot. Kang Haek asked him if he was on patrol again that day, and Randolph said that it was his day off, so he just came there to hunt a bit. White Rice showed some interest after hearing that word, and Randolph got excited too. He declared that this time he would treat them to a meal and ask them to come hunting with him. While White Rice was eager to do that, Kang Haek was just dumbfounded. He didn't want to go, but there he was, holding a bow and a quiver of arrows tied behind his back. He was not happy that his peaceful healing time was over, but White Rice was busy with Randolph, and they were hiding in the bushes, waiting for the jumping birds that were found in that area. Kang Haek was curious about the jumping birds, and Randolph told him to look ahead to see what he was talking about. The jumping birds were just ostriches, but in flamingo colors. Kang Haek thought that their fur looked like cotton candy, and he felt sorry that Randolph was going to kill those cute creatures. It seemed that the night captain could guess what he was thinking. He told Kang Haek that the feathers might look cute, but the jumping birds were a short-haired species. Kang Haek was confused, and Randolph told him that it was not the real look of the jumping birds, and the pink part was not their fur. Suddenly, two birds got into a fight, and they suddenly revealed that they were gigachads of the bird empire, and the pink stuff was actually their highly compressed muscles. Kang Haek was terrified and wondered if Randolph really wanted him to catch those dangerous creatures. Well, his opinion didn't matter because Randolph and White Rice were already charging towards the birds, and they asked Kang Haek to support them from behind. On the way, Randolph taught Kang Haek how to shoot properly, but if he could have learned how to shoot accurately in such a short time, he would be an Olympic-level archer and not a chef. He decided to calm down and put an arrow on the bow anyway. He strained to pull the string, aimed the arrow at the birds, and then released it forward. Well, the arrow reached quite close, but not close to the birds. It barely missed hitting White Rice, who gave Kang Haek a dumbfounded stare, and so did Randolph while he was strangling the gigabird. White Rice felt betrayed by his friend, and Kang Haek nervously apologized to him. Night came soon, and Randolph was cooking the bird meat over the fire. He asked Kang Haek if he was sure he could eat by himself because his arm was vibrating like an old Nokia phone was tied to it. Kang Haek replied that he could endure that much, and rather than himself, he was worried about something else. The jumping bird meat stank, and Kang Haek thought it would be too rude to cover his nose as it cooked. Soon, the meat was ready, and Randolph gave a piece to Kang Haek. White Rice was missing from the scene, and his piece lay on his plate. Reluctantly, Kang Haek took the first bite and found that the bird's meat could really stimulate his dead taste buds because it tasted so bad. Randolph thought he was dumbstruck because it was so good and decided to cook some more. Panicking, Kang Haek asked him to let him cook, but then suddenly froze, wondering if he could really cook something whose taste he didn't know. However, he decided to throw away his worries because, just earlier that day, he had proved himself by cooking pasta for Grandma Park. He threw his cloak down and told Randolph that since he was a chef, he would make something using this meat for him. Kang Haek first removed the blood from the meat in a nearby creek so that the bad smell vanished. However, draining the blood was a slow process, and it would take at least half a day to clean a chunk of meat that size. The meat was not completely clean, but it was what he had to work with. So, in order to remove the bad smell, Kang Haek poured some dark beer on the meat. Randolph instantly sneaked behind him and asked him if he was pouring beer into the bucket. He demanded an explanation about how he could waste such a precious thing, but Kang Haek was not having it. He told the night captain to create a frame on which he could hang the pot, and Randolph obeyed silently. Kang Haek then remarked that it would be nice if they had some laurel leaves or herbs. He filled up the pot with an equal amount of beer and water in the meantime, and then added onions, pepper, salt, and sugar. He left the mixture to cook for about an hour, and when it was done, he asked Randolph to help him put it down. Kang Haek then removed the lid of the pot, and the smell of the cooked meat stew was so delicious that even white rice had returned. Randolph asked if it was done, and Kang Haek replied that they still had to roast it one more time. Normally, he would have put it in an oven, but since he was camping, he would use an open fire instead. After the meat was roasted well, Kang Haek cut it into smaller chunks to complete the dish. As Randolph held the plate for the finished dish, he wondered if this wonderful scent was really coming from jumping bird meat. Randolph knew that even the best chefs in this territory had given up on making the meat taste good. He couldn't believe that Kang Haek could do the impossible, but as he took a bite, he felt lightning coursing through his body. He wondered what the hell this taste was and began gobbling up the meat. The outside was as crispy as a cookie, but the inside was juicy and tender. Randolph felt like he was in heaven and wondered if this was the meat of the jumping birds that he had eaten hundreds of times before. However, he felt that there was something missing in this dish that would make it balanced and perfect. He had his eureka moment and immediately asked Kang Haek to give him some beer because it would fit perfectly with the dish. Kang Haek told him to go and grab one himself, so Randolph did it. As he relished the taste of the beer and then took a healthy bite of the meat, he was proud of his own intuition. He remarked that this was the perfect dish to go along with alcohol. He praised Kang Haek greatly, saying that he would never get tired, even if he ate this dish for the rest of his life. However, Kang Haek was not really thrilled because he could have gotten rid of all the foul smell if he had more time. Kang Haek turned to White Rice to ask what he thought, and he wagged his tail decently fast to say that he liked it. While the wolf pup was asking for more, Kang Haek was still contemplating how he could have made the dish better. This left Randolph dumbfounded, and he now believed that Kang Haek's skill level must be higher than that of the imperial chef if he was not satisfied with the delicious meal he had just cooked. Later, a mildly drunk Randolph said that he wanted to treat Kang Haek to a meal this time, but he ended up getting treated by him again. He wanted to know how such a cooking technique could exist in the world. Kang Haek was glad that he liked it, and Randolph said that after this, he could never eat normal jumping bird meat again. He asked Kang Haek if it would be fine if he copied his cooking technique, and he replied that it would be fine because it was nothing special anyway. Randolph cut him off mid-sentence. He said that he was acquainted with some chefs, and that was why he knew the value of Kang Haek's skills. Randolph told him that his dishes were brilliant, so he should not undervalue himself. Kang Haek was happy to hear that and thanked the night captain. Randolph then decided to repay Kang Haek for all the amazing and precious things he had shown him, and his idea of repaying him was to teach him swordsmanship. Kang Haek was dumbfounded by his suggestion, and Randolph repeated himself in case he did not understand him. He proudly said that right now he was situated in this rural area, but once he was a reputed knight in the capital, and he thought that his swordsmanship lessons would be a valuable reward for Kang Haek. Kang Haek tried telling him that he was just a chef, and Randolph suddenly started laughing as he declared that countless people came to him and begged him to teach them swordsmanship. Kang Haek asked him to teach those people then, but Randolph said that he didn't like them. He told Kang Haek to be ready with a beer and a meat dish for him the next time they met, and then he would teach him some swordsmanship. While Kang Haek was not interested in learning it, he understood that the knight captain might be embarrassed to get treated to a free meal every time. He realized that Randolph would be uncomfortable if he racked up any more debts now. Kang Haek decided to accept his offer because he could just consider the swordsmanship training as a workout, and if he got stronger because of it, he would be able to use heavy utensils properly too. Soon, the night sky was covered by the northern lights, and as Kang Haek admired them, he had no idea what the consequences of accepting Randolph's offer would be. Back in the village, it had been a week since Kang Haek's restaurant opened. Yoongun, Mi-young's mom, tells Kang Hyung that she believes Mi-young is being bullied because of her. Kang Hyung wants to console her but can't find the words after witnessing the kids fight, feeling it's not his place to speak on the matter. Yoongun informs him that she knows who he is, having heard he runs a restaurant on the other side of the village, and asks if he wouldn't mind teaching her how to cook Korean dishes as Mi-young wants to have a birthday party and her friends will be coming over. But she only knows how to cook Vietnamese dishes. Kang Hyung agrees to help but keeps wondering why Yoongun asked him for help. Surrounded by white rice cakes, he realizes that asking for help when needed is the right thing to do. He decides to help and talks to a trustworthy person who knows a lot about the villagers. Kang Hyung goes to Sujin's house and finds the village chief there, who challenges him for not coming to him for help. Kang Hyung explained that he had been thinking about what dish to teach Yoongun for the birthday party. While discussing, Kang Hyung learns that the village has only one school with a single combined class and later comes up with the idea of teaching Yoongun something she can learn easily when Sujin sympathizes with Mi-young and hopes her child won't go through what Mi-young does. The village chief advises Kang Hyung to tell Yoongun to make a Vietnamese dish. He explains that trying to fit in forcibly can negatively affect Mi-young, as she still can't accept their differences, and the adults should show her that being different isn't bad or wrong and ask Kang Hyung to do his part. While Kang Hyung helps Yoongun with the dishes, she wonders if the kids will like the food since Korean and Vietnamese food are different, which makes her question if she's doing the right thing, but thinks it will be fine as long as Kang Hyung helps her. Yoongun presents the last dish, bun cha, one of Vietnam's representative dishes, where vegetables, meat, and noodles are eaten after dipping them into nuoc cham sauce. Kang Hyung, with the help of rice cakes, tells Yoongun the food is delicious after distracting her by asking for water. He makes some corrections to the dish and tells her to make it for the party. On his way home, Mi-young gives Kang Hyung a birthday invitation and tells him to come, although she's not sure any of the kids will show up since she fought with Chulman, who has many friends. On the day of the party, Mi-young worries if anyone will show up and is mesmerized by her mom's dress from her country. She asks for one for herself, and her mom gives it to her. Mi-young is surprised to see Chulman at the door. Chulman apologizes to Mi-young, and she forgives him and him a birthday invitation. This prompts the rest of the kids, who were hiding, to happily show up with their invitation cards. The children get excited, as it is their first time seeing these dishes. Yoongun guides the kids on how to eat bun cha with the sauce when they ask for help. The kids enjoy the delicious bun cha and offer compliments, making Mi-ju change her future husband's choice to dumplings. When the kids ask, Mi-young shows them her dress and explains that both the dress and the food are from her mother's countryside, in Vietnam. This prompts Mi-ju to change her future husband's choice of dress. Kang Hyung reassures Yoongun that he will take care of the cooking. When Mi-young tells her mom she wants to show her friends their matching clothes, she drags her mom over, and they all compliment how beautiful the clothes are. A beastman, a large humanoid cat, reports to Mona's mother, the chief of the beastman village, about her daughter running away again. She instructs the beastman to bring Kang Hyung to her, as her daughter feels indebted to him, and as her mother, she should become acquainted with him when the beastman informs her that Mona is with Kang Hyung when she asks. In another world, Rice Cake makes a fuss upon seeing the shrimp, causing Kang Hyung to question why she is wary of tiny dead shrimp. He thinks it is because she has not seen them before without saline water. After seeing Rice Cake pleading with him, Kang Hyung decides to cook something with the shrimp. Mona joins them, and Kang Hyung tells her she can have some if she's hungry, feeding both her and Rice Cake. They both get excited after tasting the delicious shrimp, making Kang Hyung feel pleased. Just when Mona asks for more, the beastman arrives, and Kang Hyung immediately recognizes him as the one who took Mona the last time they met. Kang Hyung tells him to let Mona finish her shrimp before taking her back to the village, but he is shocked when the beastman informs him that he is there for him. The beastman informs Kang Hyung that he's there for him and asks him to follow. Kang Hyung, feeling scared, asks where they are going. The beastman explains that he has received an invitation to the beastman village from their chief. Kang Hyung becomes even more frightened when he realizes Mona is the chief's daughter. He wonders if they plan to interrogate him about what he's feeding Mona and feels he shouldn't follow the beastman blindly. He tells him he won't be able to go today as he's busy. The beastman gives him a horn used by their warriors and asks him to call when he has time. Kang Hyung is surprised by the beastman's consideration and wonders if it's just a simple invitation or a meeting with an angry parent. Before the beastman leaves, Kang Hyung gives him a lot of chilled shrimp, saying he can't let him leave empty-handed after coming all that way. The beastman eats the shrimp and is amazed by Kang Hyung's cooking skills. Kang Hyung ponders whether he should go to the beastman village or not and wishes he had someone to consult. Just then, Randolph arrives, much to Kang Hyung's relief. After explaining the situation, Randolph tells him that an invitation to the beastman village is unbelievable, as it's the first time he has seen a human invited since all contact between humans and beastmen was cut off. Randolph ponders how a community that follows strict parenting principles left their child in Kang Hyung's care and thinks Kang Hyung doesn't realize how incredible the situation is. Kang Hyung feels relieved and decides to accept the invitation when Randolph assures him they won't try to harm him. Kang Hyung cooks some shrimp for Randolph, who finds the idea strange but decides to try it since Kang Hyung's cooking never disappoints. He is satisfied with the delicious taste but finds peeling the shrimp bothersome. Kang Hyung is surprised to see Mona and Rice Cake eating the shrimp without peeling them, having gotten tired of waiting for him. Randolph reminds Kang Hyung that he's obliged to teach him swordsmanship well, recalling their deal. He reassures Kang Hyung not to worry, as they will start with basic training since it's his first day. After training, Randolph comments that Kang Hyung has a long way to go to become a stronger warrior due to his poor stamina. Lying on the floor weakly, Kang Hyung, with a trembling voice, says he's a chief. Randolph questions how Kang Hyung can be exhausted from just 4 hours of knife training and asks if his lower body is weak. Kang Hyung notices that the spot where Rice Cake licked feels less painful, like muscle relief gel, and wonders if he imagined it. Mona then does the same thing, but it only feels wet and smells, though he appreciates her effort. Randolph gifts Kang Hyung a training sword he made for his daughter and explains that she has trypanophobia, making Kang Hyung think he's just getting rid of a useless sword. Randolph gets excited and promises to make Kang Hyung a stronger warrior, while Kang Hyung guesses he'll be suffering from constant muscle pain. At home, Kang Hyung feels exhausted and cooks a late-night snack, as it's been a while since he craved one, and serves some rice cake. Seeing how much Rice Cake enjoys the snack, he feels relieved and decides to eat. Kang Hyung is surprised when he realizes he can actually taste the food. Kang Hyung feels happy that he can now taste food even though his sense of taste hasn't fully recovered. He is glad he came to the village when he did, as he might have given up on cooking if he had stayed in Seoul, just as he had given up on himself. The village chief sees Kang Hyung's light on as he walks home from Mr. Kim's house and wonders what he's doing up so late. Meanwhile, Kang Hyung is cooking his signature dish, umami, but realizes that while he can taste the food, he can't fully appreciate its savoriness. However, seeing how Rice Cake is amazed by the food, he decides that a halfway success is still a success in the end and tells Rice Cake that he won his first competition with the umami dish. The next morning, the village chief rushes to Kang Hyung, who is still suffering from indigestion and muscle pain, and pulls an all-nighter to take him to the hospital, informing him of the way that Sujin is in labor. When they arrive, Kang Hyung sees many villagers at the hospital, whom Grandma Park later asks to leave. The village chief tells Kang Hyung to wait behind as Minho's friend to relieve Minho, who looks scared and worried. Kang Hyung feels awkward just sitting there without knowing what to do, as he has never experienced a situation like this and thinks it would have been better if the village chief had stayed. However, Minho thanked him for staying, saying that just having him sit next to him was enough. He tells Kang Hyung that he's excited but also scared and nervous. Kang Hyung pats Minho on the back to reassure him that everything will be fine, realizing that Minho is also experiencing this for the first time since they are the same age. The villagers break the news that Sujin has given birth to a girl and decide to have a feast to celebrate the joyous occasion, as it's been so long since the village had a baby. Kang Hyung tells the village chief that Minho is with Sujin, crying like there's no tomorrow. Kang Hyung mentions that he received an invitation from another village and seeks advice on what to bring. The village chief, who was first shocked thinking Kang Hyung had been scouted by another village, tells him he can bring alcohol or a local specialty. Ready to visit the Beastman village, Kang Hyung goes to the forest in the other world and uses the horn the Beastman gave him. He is shocked when the Beastman arrives, picks him up, and flies off with him on his shoulder. Kang Hyung throws up when they stop, wondering if his legs are really weak after hearing the Beastman's words. He recalls Randolph telling him that there shouldn't be a problem with him going to the Beastman village, besides the fact that Beastmen consider white wolves sacred and there's a treaty in place. Randolph explained how there was a huge war between the different races in the past that lasted for hundreds of years, engulfing the whole continent in chaos and death. He told him that saying the world would have ended is no exaggeration if the war had continued, but the gods, unable to stand by idly, interfered, leading them to sign a treaty to prevent future conflicts. This made the various species start distancing themselves from one another. Kang Hyung wonders if he will be welcome in the village. Upon reaching the village, they are confronted by warrior chief Temu, who questions Noah about why the head chief allowed a human to visit. Tension rises, leaving Kang Hyung scared and wishing someone would stop the impending fight, as the White Wolf, Rice Cake, Mona, and Noah stand by to protect him from warrior chief Temu. Just then, Cassandra, Mona's mother and the head of the tribe, arrives to welcome Kang Hyung. Noah tells Kang Hyung to pay his respects and introduces him to Cassandra. He thanks her for the invitation and introduces himself. Cassandra tells Kang Hyung not to be nervous, explaining that she invited him to thank him since her daughter has been bothering him recently, but Kang Hyung assures her that she hasn't been a bother. Cassandra puts warrior chief Temu in his place with her words, making him angry. Cassandra apologizes to Kang Hyung for his unpleasant encounter and assures him not to worry, explaining that they are simply not used to seeing humans around. However, Kang Hyung is terrified, feeling they might tear him apart as he is surrounded by beastmen. Cassandra tells him it's unusual for them to invite a human to their village, but she really wants to meet the protagonist of the rumor, which makes Kang Hyung ponder the word rumor. Cassandra reveals that the whole forest has been talking about him, the one who tamed a holy wolf, making him wonder if his camping life has been broadcast. Cassandra offers to repay Kang Hyung for his favor, but instead, he brings out the boiled pork he made as a side dish with alcohol and explains that he couldn't come empty-handed. Cassandra is mesmerized and asks if that's how he tamed her daughter. Kang Hyung nearly gets himself killed when he tells Cassandra not to drink the alcohol immediately as it might explode due to being shaken on the way, but he later clarifies what he meant. After eating the side dish with alcohol, Cassandra expresses how mesmerized she is with the food and apologizes for her people's behavior, prompting the other beastmen present at the palace to apologize as well. Cassandra instructs Noah to inform the other members about holding a festival for Kang Hyung, making him wonder why villagers love feasts so much. She tells Kang Hyung that the Chetu title signifies the best hunter in the tribe and that whoever is bestowed with it has the honor of leading the tribe during hunts. This explains why everyone went hunting with such enthusiasm. When Cassandra asks if he likes hunting and suggests he join them, Kang Hyung says he's okay just sitting down, feeling like he will be the one hunted. Cassandra mentions how she would have run into the forest to hunt if she weren't the head of the tribe and had to look after the children. Kang Hyung offers to help watch the kids but decides to stay put after seeing how wildly they play. Cassandra laughs at Kang Hyung and assures him they don't eat humans, even when a kid bites his clothes. Temu returns from hunting with a monster from the western part of the forest, which is incredibly hard to catch because of its speed. This makes Kang Hyung realize Temu is not just a warrior chief for nothing. Kang Hyung decides to go along with Temu's words of not having seen such prey before, but Temu gets angry, thinking Kang Hyung is insulting him. This is because Rice Cake caught an infamous magic beast that spews paralyzing poison, which even the most powerful warriors can't defeat alone. All the beastmen return from the hunt, and Cassandra announces Hammond as the winner. Temu questions why Cassandra chose Hammond, as he only caught a bird. Cassandra explains that they misunderstood her instructions. She didn't ask for the strongest animal, but for the most delicious game. She tells Temu that a hunter can't be called amazing just because he's good at hunting. To be worthy of the Chedu title, one must be able to select prey according to the required purpose. She asks if anyone disagrees with her. Noah asks why he looks like he's about to cry, and agrees with Cassandra's words. Cassandra instructs them to start the fire to commence the feast since the Chedu has been decided. The villagers hail Hammond for winning the Chedu title. Kang Hying feels relieved that Rice Cake didn't win the title, as he would have received even more glares if she did. He decides to enjoy the feast quietly before it's time to go home. Excited, Cassandra asks Kang Hying if he's enjoying the meat. Kang Hying is surprised by the question, as the meat smells terrible. He wonders if they have any spices and questions how they are all grinding the meat so happily despite the smell. Kang Hying asks Cassandra if the meat doesn't taste fishy, which baffles her. She also praises him for the meat he brought earlier, which was special to them. Cassandra questions Mona on why she's not eating, as she used to love meat. Rice Cake pleads with Kang Hying to save her, but he tells her that the beastmen don't think highly of humans, and he doesn't want to meddle with them. However, he decides to take over the cooking and asks Rice Cake to get him some edible sour fruits when Cassandra tries to force him to eat the smelly meat. Kang Hyung showcases his cooking skills by preparing the meat with alcohol and fruit. He tells Cassandra that he's a chef, so he's obligated to cook something more delicious. Cassandra laughs at Kang Hyung, stating she's not sure if he's brave or just timid, but either way, she likes him. She then informs him that feeding the whole tribe is a lot of work, and they can't let their guests do that. Cassandra tells Kang Hyung to let them worry about the work, as it's their responsibility to cook the prey they caught, and thanks him for his generosity. After the feast, Cassandra tells Kang Hyung that Noah will escort him home. She informs him that she wants to give him a proper send-off, but everyone has a hangover, and she gives him a pipe as a gift, symbolizing proof of his friendship with the beastmen. Kang Hyung states that the beastman village is an experience he will never forget for many reasons, and there are things he can't experience in his normal day-to-day life. He doesn't think he will be able to experience such spectacular things back home. Just when he is pondering his experience, a guest walks into his restaurant and asks if there's an empty table. Kang Hyung guesses everyday life isn't that unremarkable after all. Kang Hyung recalls he hasn't installed a security alarm and wonders how much it would cost when a customer requests the coldest water. The customer, surprised to find a restaurant there, orders vongole and asks if he can change the pasta to fettuccine. Kang Hyung notices the customer doesn't look like a villager and tells him they don't have fettuccine, but they do have linguine. The customer agrees to linguine. Kang Hyung never thought someone would request fettuccine in the village. While cooking, he thinks about how fettuccine is flat and thick, while linguine is thinner but still thicker than regular pasta. He figures the customer must like Western food since most villagers don't even know different types of pasta. Kang Hyung shows off his cooking skills and serves the food. The customer realizes Kang Hyung's cooking skills are not ordinary and asks to speak with him. The customer covers himself with his coat when the news starts talking about how master painter Yong Jae-hoon has left his mark on the art world again, having been awarded the Golden Lion at the Venice Biennale and received many project offers. The customer, who turns out to be Yong Jae-hoon, thanks Kang Hyung for the delicious food and mentions that he never thought he would eat Italian so far out in the countryside. Kang Hyung tells him it's the same for him, as he's the first person to ask for a specific pasta shape. Young replies that he likes Italian food and used to eat it frequently while studying abroad. Kang Hyung thanks him for letting him show off his skills and invites him to visit again, saying he can cook any Italian dish. Young asks if he can make minestrone, a traditional Italian soup with pasta and vegetables, a dish that is easy to make and share with the whole family. Kang Hyung asks if he wants it now, as it will take around 30 minutes, but Young says he will come tomorrow and request it then. Disappointed, Kang Hyung says he understands and will prepare it in advance. Young thanks him and mentions he doesn't usually make such requests but is looking forward to tomorrow because of Kang Hyung's skills. They exchange names, and Kang Hyung asks what he should add to the minestrone. Surprised that Kang Hyung doesn't know who he is, Young asks if he doesn't watch TV. And Kang Hyung says not really. Kang Hyung wonders why Jung suddenly introduced himself and is shocked by the news about Jung's achievements. The next day, Kang Hyung apologizes for being disrespectful and tells Jung he's a fan. Jung asks if he would have believed his words if he were him, and Kang Hyung says no. Jung reassures him not to worry, as he came to the countryside to avoid being treated as someone special. He tells him he has become quite arrogant and wants to be reminded of the old times with Kang Hyung's dishes. Kang Hyung serves the minestrone and tells him to enjoy it. Jung tells Kang Hyung that the minestrone is delicious, and Kang Hyung says that he is eating it like he doesn't care about the taste, which makes Jung ask if he is watching him. Jung reassures him that he has never had a minestrone of this level in Korea before. While praising Kang Hyung's cooking, Jung shares how he went to Italy to pursue his painting dream with nothing but a dream in his pocket. He did all sorts of labor work, and even after that, buying a bottle of paint was difficult. His meals back then were nothing more than pasta and a pinch of salt. He tells him minestrone was cheap then, and he struggled in Italy until he got an opportunity and left. Since then, he avoided Italian food but realized that painful memories are still memories. After their long talk, Jung thanks Kang Hyung for listening, and Kang Hyung asks if he has time tomorrow as he wants to help him recreate his time in Italy. Kang Hyung researches the ingredients they might have used back then and decides to look up Amalfi, the place Jung mentioned. Seeing how beautiful Amalfi is, Kang Hyung thinks Jung's memories might be more precious than he initially thought.